fires, quakes, and the new silent wars. How the deep state is weaponizing nature through technology. In a world increasingly shaped not by open warfare, but by invisible hands and invisible weapons, fire and destruction have become new instruments of global manipulation. From the forests of Turkey to the beaches of Hawaii and the canyons of California, so-called natural disasters are increasingly exhibiting the signature of orchestration rather than coincidence. These events, once attributed to nature's wrath, now bear the fingerprints of a deeper, more sinister force, one that operates not through tanks and missiles, but through satellites, energy waves, and deception. The deep state and its arsenal of next-generation warfare. The fires that avoid the elite, a pattern too clear to ignore. Let us begin with a pattern so blatant it borders on absurdity. In 2023, massive wildfires devastated Maui, Hawaii, displacing thousands and leveling entire communities. But somehow, the estates of billionaires like Larry Ellison and Oprah Winfrey remained untouched, pristine in the ashes, as if by design. How does a fire that spreads uncontrollably across the landscape avoid certain multi-million-dollar properties? This exact same pattern occurred in California's wildfires over the past decade, where vast neighborhoods were reduced to rubble while high-profile estates, often equipped with private firefighting systems and protected zones, stood unscathed. This is no accident. This is selection. These fires did not burn randomly. They burned intelligently. The question is not only why, but how. HARP, DWs, and Starlink, the invisible arsenal. To understand the how, one must look into the shadowy world of geoengineering and energy-based weaponry. At the top of this technological iceberg is HARP, the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, based in Alaska and originally developed by the U.S. military. Officially, HARP was designed to study the ionosphere. Unofficially, it has long been suspected of having capabilities far beyond weather monitoring. Numerous experts and whistleblowers have alleged that HARP can manipulate weather patterns, create droughts, trigger earthquakes, and disrupt communication systems through the use of high-frequency electromagnetic waves. While the U.S. government deflects these claims, leaked documents, patents, and retired military testimonies suggest HARP is only the tip of the iceberg. Directed energy weapons, DEWs, which use focused beams of microwaves, lasers, or radio frequencies, are now a militarized reality. The U.S. Navy and Air Force have both tested these weapons on drones and enemy equipment. But what happens when this technology is pointed not at tanks, but at forests, houses, or even tectonic fault lines? Enter Elon Musk's Starlink satellite system, often praised for democratizing internet access. Yet few are talking about its dual-use potential. With thousands of low-Earth orbit satellites, the infrastructure is already in place to monitor, target, and direct energy on an unprecedented global scale. Combine this with AI-powered systems and Pentagon contracts for satellite surveillance and defense, and Starlink becomes more than just a communications network. It becomes a potential weapon grid. Would it be far-fetched to suggest that this vast satellite net could be used to direct high-frequency beams to ignite remote areas, disrupt weather systems, or even trigger geological stress in seismic zones? According to retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden, energy weapons based on scalar physics, which manipulate electromagnetic fields, can not only induce weather events, but simulate earthquakes by interacting with the Earth's crust via ionospheric manipulation. Turkey, a target in the crosshairs. In Turkey, recent wildfires bore all the hallmarks of orchestration: simultaneous ignition in distant provinces, selective destruction, and striking timing during moments of political and economic pressure. The idea that CIA and Mossad could be involved is not mere conspiracy, but a geopolitical reading rooted in decades of sabotage, psychological warfare, and regime manipulation tactics. Turkey's rising independence in defense, energy, and trade poses a direct challenge to certain Western interests, and history tells us that such defiance rarely goes unpunished. With its strategic location, natural resources, and increasing tilt toward Eurasian alliances like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Turkey finds itself on the front line of this new kind of warfare, one fought not with bullets, but with climate manipulation, cyber control, and economic destabilization. Earthquakes. nature, or induced crisis. Even earthquakes, once considered untouchable acts of God, are now being eyed with suspicion. The 2023 earthquake in Turkey and Syria, which caused massive devastation, had odd characteristics, including peculiar lights in the sky moments before impact, a phenomenon known as earthquake lights, often linked to ionospheric disturbances. Could this have been the result of targeted seismic manipulation? Again, this ties back to HARP and similar facilities in Norway, Russia, Syria, and possibly China. While we lack hard public proof, we possess the capacity, and that alone makes it plausible. In geopolitical chess, capability plus motive often equals action. The real target, sovereignty and control. The ultimate objective of these operations is not mere destruction. It is strategic destabilization. The deep state, an amalgam of intelligence agencies, financial elites, and transnational tech powers, seeks control. And what better way to control populations, economies, and governments than to unleash chaos and then offer solutions? Burn homes, and then privatize the reconstruction. Trigger quakes, then offer IMF loans. Cause food shortages through drought, then push for GMO monopolies. Crush middle-class property holders, and transfer land to multinational entities. Disaster capitalism thrives in chaos, and chaos can be manufactured. Conclusion. The war has changed, have we noticed? We are no longer living in a world where wars begin with declarations. The new war is silent, slow-burning, and systemic. It is waged through satellites, frequencies, engineered fires, and covert earthquakes. Its victims are not soldiers, but civilians, ordinary people whose homes become battlegrounds without warning. The deep state has learned to weaponize nature. The question is whether we have learned to recognize it and resist it.